As your business grows, your tech stacks up. But are you adapting your processes to make sure everyone gets the information they need and not wasting resources on the things that they don't? We're talking about workflows. Welcome to The Spark. Today we're talking about our unique approach to mapping out how information flows through the business. And we have a special guest, Lorena Mosquera. She is the president and founder of LW&H Workflow Strategies. And I actually really like your tagline of helps businesses turn disconnected processes and technology into smarter and more scalable systems. We kind of talk about it as business therapy, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me, of course. I love talking about myself and what I do because I totally love to geek out on this stuff. So this is great. We are all about optimizing workflows and making sure that things are integrating. As you mentioned, things stack up. And a lot of times one department buys one tool, another department buys another tool. Next thing you know, you have 5 tools and don't realize that they all kind of do the same thing. And you need somebody to come in there and start to translate what does A do, what does B do, and how could we maybe use it all together. And that's where we go in. And when you say business therapy, I really feel like I should have taken a lot more classes in psychology and talk about this stuff because there's a big, there's a lot of visceral reactions when you're telling them to change behaviors and they're like, but wait, why? So that's what my team and I do. And we love every minute of this. We've been doing this for 10 years now. So
all right.
That's it.
Yeah, no, Lorena, thanks so much. I knew you'd be the perfect guest. You like to talk about yourself and the things that you do because you're super passionate about it.
Like to talk. Let's just leave it at that. I like to talk.
And if you were in this room right now, I don't know that we'd have enough room with how much you move your hands. So what was really your aha moment? I mean, was there a particular moment when you realized that the problem wasn't technology by itself, but maybe how businesses were using it? What was that aha moment?
So believe it or not, I actually sold insurance for about 20 years. And I sold insurance and my value add was this business process consulting thing. That's how clients kind of stayed with me throughout the years. And I didn't even think it was a real business until I had moved from one state, from Connecticut to Jersey. And somebody's like, you do know that that's like a real job in and of itself. And I was like, wait, what? This is a thing? Like I could be doing this? And so that's how it kind of shifted. So I started with a couple of nonprofits volunteering to see if does this really make sense? Because I saw how nonprofits primarily were disconnected. They ended up referring me to a couple of other clients. My clients that had been my insurance clients were like, yes, we will pay you for this consulting. And after 20 years of doing insurance, which I didn't even like, I started this and who knew I had been doing this all along. So that was kind of like somebody had to actually tell me hey, wake up. This is a business in and of itself. And it's been something I've been doing my entire life.
Yeah, you were probably too close to it to see the value that it delivers. And we're going to talk more about that later. But, what kind of businesses, okay, you mentioned the nonprofit space. Now, as you've grown over the last decade and you've been scaling yourself, what kind of businesses tend to benefit most from the work that you and your team do?
It's crazy. We have worked with everything from water mitigation companies, right, that are looking to expand. We've worked with CPAs. We've worked with engineers and architects that design really cool things that are going to the FDA for approval, real demos of technology that they want to be using. We've worked with marketing agencies. We've worked with basically any industry, you name it. And there isn't an industry that we've worked with that has said, oh, no, we're good.
Okay.
Everyone has this pain point. So it's not just one industry specifically.
Yeah, I think regardless of the industry. So one thing we're going to talk about later is software selection. You're agnostic. So the people who you work with, same thing applies because as people scale and grow and start stacking their technology, it really does seem that how do you get all these things to fit? How do these things communicate with each other? What happens when we press this lever? It doesn't really matter industry. So, all right, that helps. How much of your work is about technology and how much of it is actually about people and behavior?
Most of it is people and behavior. People come to me because of technology. They come because they're like, hey, I need a CRM, which is that lovely acronym for customer relationship management tool. So they come to me with the purpose of, hey, I need a CRM. Can you help me pick one out? Or which one do you think is the best one for my company or for my business or for my industry? And most of the time, it's really about the behavior and the people. Are they technology fearful? Are they embracing technology? Do they just heard of a new buzzword and then that's why they're kind of going after it? There's different reasons why they're coming. They always think it's because of the technology that they're missing, but in reality, they haven't looked at their behaviors and how they're actually playing together in the team.
It seems like you find a lot of ego in this part too, right? There's a lot of people that are like, no, I'm doing it the right way, and this person's
We've
not
been
doing
so
it the right way.
successful over the years.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised. I mean, I had one client a few years ago that was literally going to networking events, taking the business cards, stapling them to an index card and putting them in a little bin, right? It was a very archaic system, but he was insanely successful, right? And that worked for him. So yeah, there's a lot of ego because my way's been working great the entire 10, 15, 20 years. Now I've got these new people coming on board and they don't get it.
Yeah. So I think it really speaks to that as important as technology, as important as platforms are, without the human buy-in, without the human adoption, without humans having the ability to process their data, it doesn't really matter. Right? You're paying some great subscriptions.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised, the more that there are too many cooks in the kitchen, people will be like, oh, we don't need that many people involved. But you need to have at least one person from the key teams and the key areas, because the more that they feel heard and validated, the more that user adoption is going to increase.
Yeah. Speaking of the human side, then let's talk about how we met. So we met a couple years ago. One of our senior account managers, Carrie, we love her to death. She introduced us. From our side, the timing was just great because as we were looking at our business and how to stay relevant is working in full stack service, digital marketing, right? All the buzzwords there. Everyone, has one of those. It became apparent that as we went upstream and we were evolving the agency, that we truly needed to help solve business problems. And I think what Lorena and her team do truly helps solve and make it helps. It's part of the foundation part in my mind, being able to understand where we are today and then, describe a perfect world and then actually have somebody document those processes to get there. So you've been a huge part of our growth as we've been evolving over the last couple of years. So for us, it's a natural fit. From your side, how has it felt for you? How has it been working with us and our team?
I mean,
Dangerous
first of all, I
question,
love Carrie. Carrie is one of my favorite human beings. She is awesome. I absolutely love her. And she also gets the way my brain works, right? Because my brain is this anomaly between tech and sales, and I can talk both ways, right? In both teams, but sometimes I can totally dork out and be way too techie. Sometimes I can just be too much of the sales, strategy type person. So Carrie gets me. So when she introduced me to you guys, it was just such a natural fit. And what I love about your team is I've worked with a lot of marketing agencies in the past, and marketing agencies and sales coaches and CPAs are like my three biggest centers of influence, right? Because I help all three of them get to the bottom line. But what you guys do very differently is you guys have a very long-standing relationship with your clients, and you really are helping them go from not just their marketing needs, but you're listening to everything else they're saying. And when needed, you're bringing somebody else in, even if there's nothing in it for you, even if it doesn't benefit you in any way, shape, or form, you know that at the end of the day, it's something the client needs. And that's very different because in some marketing agencies, they're very much, this is our box and we're going to stay in our lane because of either past experiences or just their philosophy. And I think that's the reason that we work so well together, because sometimes you have to get your hands a little dirty in other areas to kind of see what really is going on.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm so glad to hear somebody else say that we lead with technology.
Well, and
that we actually we want to understand to build, scalable foundations.
It's also part of that do the right thing for us, which is one of our core values is we can see that we can do this part, but something's feeding into that and someone has to take that information after. And if those parts are broken, then what we're doing in the middle isn't really going to move the needle.
Yeah.
And so looking more holistically seemed like a right call. And then we kind of, got introduced to you and I was like, well, this is great. Also, I'm a huge fan of organization and process and workflow. And so that was like natural for me. As far as your actual process, can you kind of walk through the stages of how you go about these engagements?
Sure. So, like I said, most of the time clients come in and they're like, hey, I need a CRM. Hey, I need technology to help me get to this. Most of the time, it's because they've engaged a marketing agency and they want to be able to show the ROI, right?
Yeah.
What's my return on investment on all this money I'm spending on marketing dollars? Or they've hired a sales team and now they have people that they're managing and they're not really sure how to define KPIs. So when we sit down with them, we actually say, great, let's put a pause on the technology for a second. Let's talk about an assessment. And our assessment really covers two things. It's an assessment and a mapping phase. And we tend to do phase 1 and phase 2 together. The assessment is we're going to ask you a bunch of annoying questions. We're going to really drill down into things that you don't think have any relevance to anything, but we're going to pry and pry again. And then we're going to start mapping out really old school step 1 to step 2 to step 3 and what happens. And if there's an if here, right? Like if I can go this route or that route, what would that look like? So that we can see how many variables we might have in a natural process of things. And then once we're done with those two things, we can say, okay, like here's what we're looking at. We've basically, by just having a conversation and having a lot of role playing, we've now identified what your needs are, what your wants are, what your non-negotiables are. And we can kind of start to go forward from there, seeing here's all the technology you do have. What can we leverage? What can we replace? What can we enhance to really bring you up to that next level? Mm-hmm. And then we'll really go into the design and the implementation of the technology. But the biggest thing that we do is really that user adoption. If you sign up for us to do the implementation, you got to stick with us for 6 months required as part of our contract. Mm-hmm. We don't walk away, and we force everyone to have weekly meetings with us. And that is the key difference, because it's not just put in and then we leave. We make you stay with us for 6 months, at least once a week, at least half an hour every week, to basically be like, why are you not entering the information? Why is it showing 0? What can we do? And sometimes it's multiple meetings with different team members to really understand, why is the information not getting entered? Because if it's bad data in, mm-hmm. bad data out.
Mm-hmm. When you first showed me the actual mapping process, boy, does that make a brain feel happy. It was like...
or make somebody feel scared and run the hell the other way.
Well, and then it goes right into that. It's like that therapy part, right? You're like, but why are you doing that? And where is that going? And why is that the right decision? Mm-hmm. So all the things you just said all tied into the therapy part, but I was like, wow, we're just it's literally old school. It's like, here's this, and this goes to 3 places, and then this goes here, and it just helps get such clarity. We do that kind of stuff on the whiteboard. Yours is obviously a little more technical than that, but it really helps simplify things.
And it helps to ask but why? Mm-hmm. But why? And people don't really ask those questions anymore, because you get so used to doing things that the asking but why forces everyone to sit back and be like, why are we doing
that? And it's the way we've always done it that way. But that's not a good answer, right?
No.
So why does this now go to 3 people? So how many resources are you tying up? And that's, we'll get into the weeds.
But. And I do think those questions are sometimes they're hard to remember. You're just trying to keep moving. Yeah, and you forget knowledge. You're like, someone told you to do it this way. And so that's the way I'm supposed to do it. And that's why we do it. And that's how everyone's used to it. But asking why is like taking a step back. Sometimes you're like, what? This
I don't know
silly.
Why.
This is a total waste of time.
Why do we ever do this? Yeah.
Why are we doing it?
Also, I don't know. Doing this.
Yeah, thought you said so.
All right. So I also liked I liked the part of forcing them to participate after the fact, right? So you're having conversations. It's not like you're teaching them every time. It's literally walking through how to go this week. And what did you feel like you learned, or what are you still missing? Those kind of, it's like QA, but it's a little more personal.
And we don't work with any systems. We're not creating anything from scratch, right? We're not writing code. We're not creating a brand new system. It's not like we're full developers doing full black and white code for everyone, right? We're taking what's already out there. We're taking a HubSpot. We're taking a Salesforce. We're taking a Zoho. We're taking something that's already out there. And what we're doing is we're customizing it to your people, to your behavior. So where most things are failing is because they're buying something and they're trying to make it work. What we're doing is we're saying, hey, let's understand how your team works. Let's understand the terminology they use. Like let's understand how they're used to functioning. Let's make the system resemble that with more efficiency built into it. And that's really the biggest thing, because something as simple as selecting a drop-down choice that says yes or no, right? If they don't like the answers of yes or no, but they wanted to see, approved or rejected, let's make that change. It sounds so simple, but that small thing could totally change the way somebody sees something.
Yeah, it makes them feel more comfortable using it and making decisions.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about one of our bigger engagements that we had. It was, over the last 2 years. Can you talk about what was going on with the client that we decided to bring you into this client?
So this was a great client that we worked with, because they had so many different pain points as they had grown. And obviously that's a great problem to have, right? When you're growing, you get a bunch of other things that kind of go along with it. But they had hired a ton of new people. They had a lot of different departments, a lot of new services and new offerings. They had been using a system that was not really growing at the pace that they were, and they really needed to kind of get a handle on a few things. Their biggest thing was they had a sales team that they needed to make sure that their sales KPIs were being accounted for. The communication between the sales team and the operational team, who was picking it up both from a finance and from a customer implementation perspective. How do we make sure that they're communicating and picking it up and doing the right thing at the right time, when the deposit is received, when the money's actually in house and not getting started before we've gotten paid.
Good plan.
And then we had which is always a good thing. You'd be surprised how many people just start working right away. But then they also had a lot of internal projects based on what they were doing. They had a lot of internal projects that they needed to get a handle on. And this particular client did not have a short life cycle for neither their sales nor their actual implementation of the services that they offered. So it wasn't like, hey, you sell this widget, you buy the widget, you ship the widget out, it's done. This was like a 6 to 8 month sale sometimes, and sometimes it was a 12 to 18 month actual engagement. Yeah. So there was a lot of planning and a lot of people and a lot of moving pieces. So what we really needed to do was create a project management tool component. We really needed to create a support component, because even after it was implemented, there was a lot of support tickets that came along with it. We also needed to have true measurements between the sales, operations, and finance team. And we really need to make sure that everything was cohesively talking to each other.
And I think that was aided a lot also by the owner's belief that this also needed to happen and willing to support it, which was great. I think without that, you're going to struggle.
When you have the best.
Yeah.
When you have the best success.
And so that's kind of those are all their pain points. What was going on? How did the assess and address phase go? How did you start assessing it? What did that piece of the engagement look like on your side?
So a lot of people will hear, at least on different, case studies, oh, you can get this up and running in about 6 to 8 weeks. I really laugh at that, because I'm like, 6 to 8 weeks, not happening, right? It takes 6 to 8 weeks for you to really figure out what the team wants at a bare minimum, right? Because we have to have so many meetings with so many teams and really understand. So we really spent a lot of time going through every single process, talking to every single key player in those teams, understanding where are the breakpoints, right? Where do you know things are not working? Tell me all the good, bad, and ugly, because that's important. No judgment, no filters. Give me the good, bad, and ugly. If you want to have that as a one-on-one meeting, you want to have it as part of a team meeting, I don't care, but I need to know all the dirty secrets so that I can understand how to address them. Then I do this random thing that I do with every single one of my groups, where it's you have a magic wand, and money's not an object. Time is not an object. Understanding the technology is not an object. You have this beautiful magic wand that when you wave it, you will get the perfect thing set up. What does that look like? And we try to backtrack into that. And those conversations require a lot of handholding, a lot of patience, a lot of explanations. As you said, egos sometimes come into play with these meetings. So sometimes we have to have meetings about the meetings, which sounds really crazy, but we need them. And only once those things are done can I actually have a map that then says, okay, I heard all of you. Here's where I see the bottlenecks. Here's where I see, and I don't have to point fingers. Right. I don't have to point names. I'm just showing it in black and white and what that looks like.
And then mapped out a plan, and rolled out all the technical parts of that after, which was a pretty significant lift.
Yes.
Which was HubSpot focused for reference. And now, and then there was, that part afterwards, right, where everyone comes and works on it. And that took a while because there were a lot of people in that. There was a lot of people involved.
Yeah, to actually frame it a little more, it's HubSpot Enterprise across the board, the entire suite with 200 plus seats, just to give a more context to the size of engagement this was.
Yeah. And that also required a lot of moving pieces because we had to make sure that there was going to be no delay in how the things actually kept going for the team, right? Because you can't stop operations. So we had to time everything so that we were getting to have the launch and the training done so that were we doing it all cold turkey day one? Are we doing it in phases? We had to really make sure we had that well timed out so that everyone on different shifts was trained at the same time. So yeah, to Jay's point, there was a massive amount of training. There was a massive amount of meetings before we actually went live. And actually testing it required a lot of team members to be involved with testing it. And even when we were done with testing it, making sure that everyone understood this is not like you turn on the lights and everything is perfect. It's not like, there's no issues. Just like when you're building a house, right? Just because you have the perfect blueprint and the perfect design, you come in, you move in and everything's working perfectly. Sometimes the dishwasher doesn't work the right way, or sometimes the garbage disposal is stuck for no random reason. There are things that are going to be a little bit more or lower in the priority that need to be addressed, and making sure that everybody knew that. So we had a way of communicating and kind of keeping everybody engaged in after it went live.
And it's now been a while since that was completed, and they're operating successfully within the new model.
And they have beautiful dashboards with all these reports and all these numbers.
Love a good dashboard.
Nothing like those beautiful colors on a dashboard.
Yep.
Yes.
So it was a success overall. It was a huge lift, though. I mean, I think it probably took over the course of a year.
What was your biggest? Over a year engagement. What was your biggest surprise throughout that entire project? You've seen a lot, but I'm sure something jumped out at you at some point.
There was a huge disconnect on terminology, which was quite shocking, right? There is a huge disconnect between one terminology that was used across the board. And there is something called a task and there's something called the ticket. And tickets to me are something that you're doing as you're opening a support ticket. You're opening a reason to do something. A task is something that you're doing and that you're actually taking an action on.
Right.
The team was using those interchangeably, and that caused a very big disconnect in how things were actually getting squared away. And once we realized that and we recognized that, it did change the perspective on how a lot of things were done. And I see that not only with this group, but I see it all the time between a task and a note, right? Most CRMs allow you to put task and notes. Well, people will go to notes all day long and enter everything that they've talked about or doing, but then they forget to enter a task to show something that they have to do in the future because it's buried somewhere in the note. So I try to hide notes from most CRMs when I can.
Just take that toy away.
Crazy. You can't put notes in. Sorry, you can only do tasks. But it's a note. No, you have to put in a task as something you completed, or a task as something you have to do until they get really good at it. And then I'll reintroduce notes so that they know the difference. But terminology is always surprising how people don't realize that we're not even talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Lorena Mosquera, fixing the vernacular of companies nationwide. I love it. I love it. Yeah. So why now, right? I mean, the reality is, and I'm sure people who are watching this are either all in right now, I have to do that, or hell no, I'm not kicking over every stone and I'm not doing that. It's going to be embarrassing and I'm going to get fired, right? We've been successful. So, knowing that everything sounds great, like why now? Why should people be doing this right now?
I think COVID started to open people's eyes to their flaws a lot, right? And I think they are starting to see it more now because obviously it's been a few years after that and they've kind of forgotten about those pain points. But a lot of folks are starting to realize that, number one, God forbid there's an emergency and you're out of the office for a few weeks. Somebody needs to know where things stand, right? Somebody needs to be able to pick up the ball for you and just keep it going. You're not going to want to be working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the entire time. You have to have other people on your team be able to understand what's going on. They can't be reading your mind or reading your horrible, my handwriting is horrible. Like we don't want anyone reading my notes. Right. So we have to be able to pick up where somebody else left off. Intellectual property is one of the most important assets that any company has. And the amount of intellectual property that is just left unaccounted for is quite horrifying, actually, when you start to look at it. Key managers, key personnel, key salespeople that just have all this information. And if something were to happen, you don't know where any of that is.
We always say, I used to say, if you get hit by a bus, we need to know what you did. I wasn't allowed to say that anymore. So now I'm supposed to say if you win the lottery.
If you win the lottery and you just disappear.
And you disappear.
That's a much better approach. I like that.
It's all about framing.
Got to pay to play. Got to play to win.
But no, it's scary because, COVID kind of brought that on. And I know we don't want to talk about COVID, but it did. It brought it on because if you remember the good old fashioned days, when you started a job, you got a binder and it showed you how to check your voicemail, how to set your greeting, how to set the alarm, how to turn on the lights, how to use the copier, right? Like the basics. Bring in COVID and people are rotating going into the office and nobody knew where anything was. And now scale that up times 10, right? Now you've got, I don't know what happens when a deposit comes in, or I don't know who gets notified when a contract gets signed. Like you can really go a little like, oh geez, like what happens next? So it's important for everything to be documented.
Yeah. SOPs are hard though. Like taking the time to do that and like investing resources and doing work like this, it's hard. Yeah.
I mean, businesses are still, we've heard great clients who have big budgets say, I'm not doing this because we still have to run a business. We still have to do this. How am I supposed to juggle these two things?
Yeah, take time to like step back.
Yeah, right. Huh? If it's important to you and you do want to grow and you want to scale, then you need to make that time.
Yeah. And we actually, our last podcast, we also talked about what we labeled the complexity tax, which is like when you start adding these other platforms in, they start, people have to learn them and then they have to use them and they have to know where that information's going. And it adds a cost that maybe you're not seeing, you're paying, right? Like not knowing where everything's flowing. Are 3 people like doing the same report?
Inefficiencies, the most expensive thing.
Yeah.
Right? For any business.
I have a wonderful spreadsheet that literally will take the number of minutes and break it down to the number of minutes that your employees spend looking for something compared to their salary, compared to how much they actually per year. Let me tell you, that's a scary.
Don't send it to us. Don't send it. I don't want to see it.
It's awesome to show the numbers. Like the numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Data don't lie.
Right. Ball don't lie. All right. So workflow strategies for companies who want to grow, I would say, is a must-have. It's not negotiable. It's not a nice-to-have. I think that if you're a business and you're truly interested in growth, and you're getting to a point where you're stacking technologies, that this is actually the perfect time to do software selection, to make sure that you're building it properly and do it once and document everything so that it is scalable. I mean, it is so important now to not be stuck and not be inefficient, and to, you're going to lose clients, you're going to lose great employees.
Just wasting resources.
It's super expensive.
And you have to keep it up, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Employee burnout. I mean, think about it. Nobody wants to go to a company where they're like, well, how do I do this? Oh, well, I'm not sure. Go ask Mary. You go ask Mary. Well, last time we did it this way. Next time you forget.
I do it this way. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So like employee burnout is a huge deal, and it comes from inefficiency, right? So you don't want to deal with any of that.
Yeah. And tribal knowledge isn't a way to grow a business.
No.
So, all right, we're getting to the fun part.
Okay.
Well, You ready?
Yeah, let's do it. We're going to do a little rapid fire, a couple questions before we wrap up.
All right. You, me?
Go.
All right. Let me pick one here. Who has the best grinder or sub in Jersey?
Oh boy. So I like I'm up in Sparta, New Jersey. So I'm up in northern Jersey.
Yeah.
And there's a little local deli that is called Bagel Station that has like the best bagels and the best sandwiches. And the line out the door on the weekend is like ridiculous. But that's my favorite place.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, I'm hungry now.
I'm hungry. Are you this organized in your home life as you are in your business?
Oh man, have you been talking to my kids?
Those books look pretty organized over there.
So there are parts where, yes, things are insanely organized. And then there are other parts where somebody will look at it and be like, what is happening there? But I know where everything is. So organized in my chaos. Brain, it's working, but it's not necessarily working for anybody else's brain. But no, and I'm very big on DIYs and they take a long time.
Biggest red flag that you've seen with a new client?
Unwilling to be part of the meetings that are going to be discussing the assessment and mapping.
Yeah, you might walk away from that.
I do, and I have. If they're not willing to be part of those meetings, then we're not doing the engagement. Because if they're not part of the meeting, they're not going to be part of the process, which means it's not going to work.
They're not part of the solution.
You're part of the problem.
Right. And then the
part of the problem.
Down the system. Yep. Yeah, because then they blame the system, and it's not the system. It's a team. It's a team relationship thing at that point.
You're up.
Okay. All right. We know you like live music.
Yes.
What is the best live show you've ever seen?
Ooh. It's gonna be Pink.
Oh.
Pink.
All right.
a real showman.
I've seen Pink about 5 times, and man, I will see her again as many times as possible. Like between Pink and Shakira, I think I've seen just about as much.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've heard that's a good show.
Shakira was amazing. I just finished seeing. I literally have seen her 4 times in the last year and a half. So like,
wow.
Wow. Were you at the Super Bowl too? Wasn't she the Super Bowl halftime show?
She was at the Super Bowl. I was not, but I did see her. I have legit seen her literally in the last year and a half that she's been touring. I've seen her 4 times. Like I'm insane with both Pink and Shakira.
Good for her.
She was also part of the World Cup halftime show for the final.
That's right.
She was.
Yeah.
She was.
All right, Lorena, I have to ask, how many tattoos do you actually have?
I'm covered up right now. You can't see them. I think I've lost track. I think I'm up to about 22.
Okay.
It's a pretty good number.
It's 22 more than me.
You're a good thing. But at this point, like, what do you define as a tattoo? Because a lot of them kind of merge into each other. So like, that if we're talking hours of sitting at this, my sleeve alone was probably like 10 hours of sitting. And
it's a lot of sitting.
It's a lot. You can sit that
I
long.
couldn't. I need to stand. I need a standing.
You could get little
tattoo.
tiny tattoos.
It's going to be my life's work.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on today and talking about this. If you are ready to hit the business therapy couch and are interested in talking to us about this flow project that we work with Lorena on, reach out. What is it? Like, subscribe, share, comment, do whatever.
Yeah.
Just talk to us. We like talking to people.
We do like talking, and Lorena loves talking to people and loves talking, about your business, not just, what's going on in, her tattoos.
Yep.
Tattoos or puppies or DIY projects, you might not shut me up either. So.
All right.
That's all we've got.
Take us out of here.
I just did.
Oh, shit. You're right. Okay.
You just extended it.
Yeah.
All right. That's it.
Thanks, Lorena.
Thanks, Lorena.